Las Vegas was made to make us spend money, and spend it well. There are suites with swimming pools in the living room, dinners that cost as much as a car, and stores selling jewelry for the price of an apartment. It is the stage for excess, where luxury is the rule and ostentation has become a tourist attraction. We have even shown this millionaire side here on our channel. The Vegas elite with their private jets and $100,000 a night accommodations. If you haven't seen it yet, look for what it's like to live in Vegas without limits. But what almost no one shows is who cleans these suites, who serves these dinners, who carries on their backs the city that others use for entertainment. Far from the Strip where everything shines, there is another Vegas. The one where rent eats up your salary, where mothers struggle to raise their children without daycare, where people with 2 jobs still sleep in their cars. Or worse, sleep under the city, in the sewer tunnels. This is the part that no one sees. But it is precisely this that Bello Mundo is going to show you now. Number 1. Poverty and inequality. Las Vegas turns over billions of dollars every year. Its packed casinos, sold-out shows, luxury hotels, and tourists 24 hours a day. But behind this glittering facade, there is a huge abyss that almost no one sees. While some spend in one night what others cannot earn in a whole year, there are people trying to survive on the bare minimum. And often, even that is not enough. According to the U.S. Census, more than 1 in 10 people in the city officially live below the poverty line. But that number rises sharply in outlying neighborhoods where nearly 1 in 4 families cannot afford rent, food, or monthly bills. A study by Prosperity Now, an organization that tracks economic inequality in the United States, showed that in the wealthiest areas of the city, the average annual income easily exceeds $100,000. In working-class neighborhoods such as East Las Vegas, where many people from the Latino community live, that average drops to less than half. To give you an idea, the average annual income in this neighborhood is $39,700, well below the city average of $68,000. And this inequality is also evident in childhood. In the poorest neighborhoods, almost 4 out of 10 children grow up in homes where there is not enough money for anything. Food, health care, decent schools. It is in this scenario that the city is divided. On one side, the glitz. On the other, the silent battle of those who live on the edge. And it is about those who live on the edge that we are going to talk now. Number 2. Who are the poor in Las Vegas? Being poor in Las Vegas is not synonymous with unemployment. Most of the time, it's just the opposite. Those at the bottom of the pyramid are the ones who carry the city on their backs. They are the maids who clean the luxury rooms, the waiters who serve drinks by the pool, the machine operators who keep the casinos running. They are the security guards at designer stores, the fast food attendants, the drivers who work through the night taking tourists from one place to another. They are not on the margins of the city. They are its engine. Most of these people live in neighborhoods that are rarely featured in tourism advertisements, but where real people live. Most work all day in blue-collar or service jobs. According to the Neighborhood Scout website, more than 40% are in manufacturing or manual labor. When you add those who work in retail, beauty, cleaning, cooking, and customer service, the number exceeds 60%. Even so, their wages do not cover the basics. Many people live alone, without a support network. There are elderly people living on meager pensions in old, poorly maintained apartments. There are workers who share a single room with 3 others because they cannot afford to pay the rent alone. And there are immigrants who came in search of opportunity but found only hardship. This is the city that no one shows. The Las Vegas of sweat, hustle, and hard work, where luxury is for tourists. Number 3, the cost of living. Think of a place where everything is designed to make you spend money. From breakfast to the hotel elevator, every detail has been designed to empty the pockets of those who pass through. Now imagine living in this place. Not for a week's vacation, but every day. While visitors are shocked by the price of a drink, there are residents who can't even afford the rent for a tiny studio apartment, and that's when they can find a place to rent. Many people who have steady jobs, sometimes working 2 or 3 shifts, live in rundown motels or sleep in their cars parked in random parking lots. Rents go up year after year, but wages remain the same. And if you fall behind, eviction is quick. Today, the average rent for an apartment in Las Vegas is around $1,468 per month, according to Rent Cafe. It may seem less than the national average, which is over $1,700, but the problem is that incomes are also lower here, and the bills simply don't add up. Fixed bills also weigh heavily. Water, electricity, internet, and gas are almost 15% more expensive than in the rest of the country. Grocery stores charge up to 7% more than the national average. A gallon of milk costs almost $5, bread is over $4, and a dozen eggs costs more than $3. Good fruit and decent meat can only be found by driving to more distant neighborhoods. Transportation is expensive and poor. Buses are scarce and gasoline costs over $4 a gallon, more than 20% above the average. Those who depend on cars or live far away feel it in their pockets. And then there's healthcare, daycare, school, and medicine. Even though medical costs are a little lower than in other cities, they still weigh heavily on those who earn little. And if you have small children, everything gets worse. Daycare, when available, doesn't support parents, school meals aren't enough, and school transportation is almost non-existent. At the end of the month, everything goes to pay the bills, and the city of fireworks and casinos becomes a place where you can't live with dignity. Number 4, debt, improvisation, and addiction. When the bills don't pay, improvisation becomes the norm. And in Vegas, where the cost of living is high and wages don't keep up, surviving requires creativity, resilience, and often giving up the basics. And in Las Vegas, where the state minimum wage is just over $11 an hour, no bill can be paid. Working the entire month, sometimes 2 or 3 shifts, doesn't even guarantee the basics. And then the domino effect begins. Rent comes first, of course, then comes food, electricity, gas. But what about daycare? What if a child gets sick? What if the fridge is empty and the credit card is maxed out? The answer has always been the same: debt. Las Vegas is one of the cities with the highest rates of revolving credit use in the country. Some people pay 30% interest per year, so their children don't go without milk. No wonder food banks are always crowded. In 2023, 3 Square, the largest food bank in southern Nevada, distributed more than 50 million meals. But this isn't a year-end campaign. It's day-to-day survival. Many people who work hard all day don't go home when they leave work. They go to their cars, or to a motel room rented for a few hours, or they share the rent for a single room with 3 or 4 strangers. That's what you do when half your salary goes to rent. In more remote neighborhoods, such as parts of North Vegas or the eastern part of the city, it is common to see clusters of trailers and makeshift dwellings. Not all of them have decent structures, security, or regular running water. But even so, they are considered a shelter for those who have no other option. And even in these places, rent has gone up. Some people have been evicted from old trailers because they couldn't even afford the parking fee. Others resort to temporary rooms, rented by the day or week, with verbal agreements and no guarantees. Many of these accommodations are in dilapidated buildings, where drug trafficking and violence coexist with entire families. Other times, refuge comes from shelters run by organizations such as the Salvation Army, which tries to offer temporary shelter to those who have nowhere else to go. But the lines are long, the wait is exhausting, and there are never enough spots. And when despair becomes routine, many resort to what is closest at hand. Many people sink into gambling, betting what they have and what they don't have on roulette, scratch cards, and slot machines. It's a vicious cycle, literally. Some residents start gambling after work, trying their luck, and end up losing what little they have left. Others turn to drugs or alcohol, trying to numb their exhaustion, stress, and emptiness. The city sells this escape on every corner. But addiction comes at a high price. Debts snowball. Many people lose their jobs, their homes, their direction. And when their wages are no longer enough to pay the rent, they begin to disappear into invisibility. And when there is nothing left, all that remains is the street, or the underground. Number 5. Life in the underground tunnels. There is a part of Las Vegas that lies beneath the city, hidden under the casinos and luxury hotels, and is home to hundreds of people who live as if they have been wiped off the map. Literally underground. The drainage tunnels were built to contain the desert rains, which are rare but violent. When they fall, they cause flooding in minutes. But these tunnels ended up becoming shelters for those who lost everything. And there, what was supposed to be a passageway for water became a home, a bedroom, a bathroom, a hiding place. No light, no ventilation, no security. Some try to set up a more livable space, if you can call it that. They collect mattresses from the trash, build makeshift shelves, and glue old photos to the damp walls. Others live with whatever fits in a backpack. There is no electricity, so lighting depends on flashlights or small openings in the concrete that let in a little light. There is no sanitation or clean water, and there are no rules, which makes everything even more dangerous. Reports from those who live there tell of rats, cockroaches, theft, threats, and even scenes of serious violence. Some say the environment is so hostile that it seems haunted. But the scariest thing is knowing that many people are there even though they have steady jobs. People who serve tourists, who serve food in casinos, who clean hotels. People who keep the city running. But when the workday is over, they return to darkness. But not everyone lives in hiding. There are people who are exposed day and night on the city sidewalks. Number 6. Homeless people and laws against the homeless. Not everyone on the streets of Las Vegas lives in the tunnels. Many people still try to stay above ground, even without a real place to live. Abandoned parking lots, under bridges, vacant lots. That's where dozens of tents accumulate, side by side, forming makeshift communities that live on the edge of legality and dignity. But the problem is that the city doesn't even want to allow that. Las Vegas, like Clark County, has adopted stricter measures against encampments. Today, if someone is caught sleeping in a public space, they can be fined. If they persist, they can even be arrested. And that applies even if they have nowhere else to go. The official justification is to keep the city clean and safe, especially in neighborhoods like East Valley, which has become a constant target of complaints. Residents have reported thefts, threats, and invasions, and the response has been swift. A ban on tents, increased police presence, and mass removals. But the question that remains is, if they can't stay there, where can they go? Between 2023 and 2024, the number of people living on the streets in the region rose by more than 20%. There are now almost 8,000 people without a permanent home. In the end, having a roof over your head in Vegas has become a privilege for the poor. Number 7. Health. Now that you know who the city's poor are and understand how they live, where they live, what they eat, and how they survive, one question remains. What happens when they get sick? Because when the body gets sick or the mind breaks down, what was already difficult becomes unbearable. And in Las Vegas, seeking medical help can be scarier than playing Russian roulette. The city is not made for those who need it. It is made for those who can afford it. And that goes for everything, including healthcare. Those who depend on the public system live a game of chance. Those who have private insurance often cannot afford the cost, and those who have nothing are left in limbo. Going to the hospital here can mean leaving with a debt that haunts you for years. Some people avoid calling an ambulance even in serious cases because transportation alone can cost half their monthly salary. Others prefer to endure pain in silence because making an appointment can mean months of waiting or poor care. Medicaid, the federal program for low-income people, does exist, but it doesn't serve everyone. The criteria are strict, the waiting list is long, and the clinics that participate in the program are often poorly equipped, with quick appointments and almost no space for examinations or reception. And when it comes to mental health, the situation is even more invisible. Las Vegas has high rates of depression, anxiety, and alcohol and drug addiction. But access to psychologists, psychiatrists, or therapeutic support is minimal. Treatment has become a luxury, and suffering is swallowed in silence. And that's where the cycle closes. Because without health, people lose their jobs. Without a job, eviction follows. Without a home, food, or treatment, the next step is the street, or oblivion. Number 8. Government initiative. When the situation gets tough, the public authorities are expected to step in. But in Las Vegas, official help usually arrives late, poorly planned, and without the power to change the situation. And when it does arrive, it seems more like an attempt to contain the damage than to solve the problem. The city does have programs. There are shelters run by Clark County, triage centers, food distribution, and subsidized daycare spots. But all of this is insufficient. The demand is huge, the budget is small, and the criteria almost always exclude more than they include. In recent years, promises have rained down. There has been talk of building more affordable housing, opening rehabilitation centers, and expanding access to social assistance. But in practice, what has really grown is policing, forced removals, and fines against those trying to survive as best they can. It is easier to remove a tent from the sidewalk than to build a house. It is quicker to increase punishment than to hire technical staff. The rhetoric is always the same: security, urban revitalization, collective well-being. But the question is, security for whom? Revitalization at what cost? Because in neighborhoods like East Valley, what we saw was gentrification pushing poor families even further away. Where there is no transportation, where there are no schools, where there is no support network. There are people trying to turn this game around. City councilors, churches, community associations. But the system is tough, the bureaucracy is slow, and political will often clashes with interests that prefer to keep everything the way it is. After all, if Vegas was built to sell fantasy, admitting that the nightmare exists looks bad in the shop window. In the end, what exists is a poor assistance network that helps one while abandoning 10, and those who can't grab the lifeline sink. But what about you? Did you imagine that poverty was so present in the city that never sleeps? Tell us here in the comments. What surprised you most about this reality in Las Vegas? Take the opportunity to enjoy the video, subscribe here at Bello Mundo, and turn on notifications. That way you won't miss any episodes of our series. Next week, we'll be back with another destination to show you what it's like to be poor somewhere in this big world. Thank you very much for joining us. See you then.